Hello and welcome to part 2 of the book Win Bigly by Scott Adams with commentary by me and reading it to my dog. You could probably get it on Audible. You could probably get it on Amazon, but Scott Adams is now a controversial figure, so I don't know how much longer you'll be able to get it. So if you don't mind commentary and reading to my dog, then come listen to it with us. This is day 2. We are on part 1, Why Facts Are Overrated. The most important perceptual shift in history. My spooky year was fun for me, but it was also a dangerous time for the world's collective mental health. Enlightenment can be a risky business. When your old worldview falls apart, it can trigger all kinds of irrational behavior before your brain rewires the move in your head to make it consistent with your new worldview. We all have movies in our heads that we believe are accurate views of reality, and those movies are very different. Normally, we don't notice the differences in our personal movies, or we don't care. But when politics are involved, the stakes are higher. Then we notice. Emotions are already raw in election years, and millions of people are focused on the same topics at the same time. That's a barrel of gasoline and a lot of matches in one place. The last thing the country needed was millions of people simultaneously going nuts. I hoped I could reduce that risk by writing about Trump's persuasion talent and preparing the public for what I saw coming. That will all make more sense later. I also wanted to make sure the public did not miss the greatest show in the world by looking through the wrong filter. If you watched the entire election cycle and concluded that Trump was nothing but a lucky clown, you missed one of the most important things. One of the most important perceptual shifts in the history of humankind. I'll fix that for you in this book. I knew from my own experience as a hypnotist that Trump's extraordinary skill at persuasion would trigger massive cognitive dissonance and plenty of confirmation bias. If you're not familiar with those terms, I include quick definitions below. I'll go into more detail later. If you seek enlightenment, these are 2 of the most important concepts you will ever learn. Cognitive dissonance. This is a mental condition in which people rationalize why their actions are inconsistent with their thoughts and beliefs. For example, if you think you are smart, but you notice yourself doing something that is clearly dumb, you might spontaneously hallucinate that there was actually a good reason for it. Or perhaps you believe you are an honest person, but you observe yourself doing something dishonest. Your brain will instantly generate a delusion to rationalize the discrepancy. This is a common phenomenon in all normal humans, but we generally believe it applies only to other people. Confirmation bias. This is the human tendency to see all evidence as supporting your beliefs, even if the evidence is nothing more than coincidence. This is another common phenomenon that we believe happens only to other people. I saw in the election of 2016 a dangerous situation forming. If the public misunderstood Trump's methods and intentions, and that seemed likely, things could turn ugly. Worse yet, the public might not appreciate the extraordinary riches of their choice in the election. No matter what you thought of Trump or his policies, he certainly was different. And he certainly knew how to make things happen. I thought the public deserved to see Trump's candidacy as clearly as possible, without the biased framing that his adversaries were applying. You might be wondering how confident I was about my prediction that Trump would win. Well, no one is psychic. I can't know with total certainty what the future holds. For example, I couldn't predict what types of scandals would pop up along the way, but I do know persuasion. I know its power in a way that few people do, and I recognize that with Trump's level of persuasion skill, he was bringing a flamethrower to a stick fight. And the poor little sticks didn't see it coming. I had high confidence that Trump would surprise the pundits and win the election. But he did far more than that. before the master persuader was done with the election, he would also remake the Republican Party in his own image, eviscerate the mainstream media's credibility, and leave the Democratic Party in ruins. The Clinton and Bush dynasties would be charred wrecks on the sides of the road. Over the course of my writing career, I've made lots of other public predictions. For example, in my 2004 book, The Religion War, I predict the rise of an Islamic caliphate in the Middle East and their use of hobby-sized drones for terror attacks. That happens to be a good description of ISIS in 2017. I had a similar confidence in that prediction as I did in Trump's win. But I have lots of other predictions in my portfolio that were less accurate. Some were whimsical or wishful thinking, or run-of-the-mill guessing based on limited data. My Trump predictions were the first ones that used the master persuader framing. That's because master persuaders are rare. In the investment realm, I made a small fortune betting on master persuader Steve Jobs during turning Apple into the company it is today. That worked out for me. Likewise, master persuaders Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger made a tidy profit for me when I owned Berkshire Hathaway stock. You know, you should never take financial advice from cartoonists, but let me tell you one thing that feels safe to share. If the CEO of a publicly traded company is routinely described as having a reality distortion field, as was the case of Steve Jobs, keep an eye on that company. That's a sign of a master persuader. For over a year, I did numerous TV, radio, podcast, and print interviews on the topic of my blogging that Trump would win in a landslide. It was the spookiest, coolest, most fun year of my life. I'm delighted that you are letting me share this story with you. It's a good story, and I'll teach you some insanely useful stuff along the way. The book is organized by 3 major themes. We'll start by talking about the limits of the human brain to perceive reality, and that will prime you for the persuasion lessons that follow. Once you have a working understanding of the basics, I'll show you how I use my understanding of persuasion to predict events in the presidential election of 2016. Keep in mind that the topic of this book is persuasion, and in that realm, President Trump does far more right than wrong. For completeness, Appendix D is my discussion of the things candidate Trump did wrong. I hope that acknowledgement frees your mind to enjoy the ride. Ready? Let's go. All right, come back tomorrow and we will go to About the Facts. That's the next part of this book. So like, subscribe, comment. See you tomorrow.